I'd like to invite you to think for just a moment. What is the promise that the Constitution represents for you personally? Is it political equality, freedom, government of, by, and for the people? I would offer that if there was one core American promise, it's that we're all created equal, that we all have an equal right to participate in our political processes, and that we have a right to equal representation.
So the court's removal of equality from the First Amendment is the most efficient, most effective way to rapidly allocate political power based on wealth in this country, and that's exactly what's happened. The second modification they did was pull out anti-corruption. They say independent expenditures, super PACs, it won't corrupt. Well, nobody really believes it, and if you talk to any politician, they'll sure tell you it sure does corrupt. The fact that money is supposedly independent, the politicians, the candidates know the power of these super PACs.
For a lot of Americans, I think we assume we have that right to political equality. It goes back to the Declaration of Independence, the Equal Protection Clause, the Civil War amendments, and more. Why do we need an amendment to put political equality, the right of Americans to be equal as political citizens, back into the Constitution?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. It does come as a surprise to a lot of people that you would need a constitutional amendment for this core principle of American democracy. And especially because it's in there in the Constitution in so many ways. As you said, it's in the Declaration of Independence. It's been there from the beginning. So why do we need an amendment? And the real reason is that Supreme Court decisions have, for decades, at first slowly, and in recent years more rapidly, been erasing the value of political equality and equal voice from the Constitution when it comes to money and politics. And the court has done that in the name of the First Amendment.
Our forebears thought of democracy as being important. The way I think of democracy as being important is that it offers a promise of government in which everybody's interests are taken seriously. It's not that everybody's happy with every outcome, but nobody kind of by definition doesn't count.
Wealthy individuals and groups, including wealthy corporations, they are very effective at getting what they want from Congress and getting their views enacted into law. Those on the bottom end of the spectrum are much less so. In fact, sometimes there's even an inverse relationship between the preferences of the less affluent and what their elected members of Congress or state legislatures do.
I worked in Congress for a year after graduating from college, and I saw the influence of money in politics in legislation and on campaigns. I think that's the fundamental problem we face, because it disrupts the fundamental relationship between us and our elected officials and skews legislation to support powerful interests at the expense of the majority of Americans.
Money is speech, therefore you can't regulate it. Well, there's a flaw. There's a big flaw there. Even if you accept the basic premise there's certainly some to that. People should spend some money being able to advertise. But every right has a limit. And typically the right's limit is when you trample someone else's right. And if you take this argument to the extreme, that this means you can never put any limit on what can be given, and you can never be required to be disclosed or anything else the government may want to do, well, then what you have is 57 billionaires who really control a lot of this process, and then on both sides of the aisle, you have them blowing away the free speech rights of just about everyone else because you're not in the game. You're getting a couple of nominees they pick. But as we talk, people need that big idea, because there are certain things you can do even within the framework of Citizens United, but the amendment restores the ability of state governments, of federal governments, to stop these lawsuits that go in against the locality saying, I'm sorry, you in Montana, just because you think you have corruption, you do not have the right to put a limit on campaign contributions. I mean, this is just spreading like a cancer, and 28th Amendment is the thing that long-term solves this problem.
It gets even worse. Not only has the court said that isn't a kind of corruption that Congress is allowed to regulate with campaign finance laws, but in the recent campaign finance decisions post-Citizens United, the majorities in that court, led by Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Kennedy, have actually said, this is the way democracy is supposed to work. Entities, interest groups with money are supposed to be able to get government to respond to them based upon the money that they put into the process. So we've got a Supreme Court now that takes an affirmative view that what you and I tend to think of as corruption is actually American democracy at its finest.